We are catching up with Capybara Games here at ID at Xbox Showcase during GDC in San Francisco, talking about a game that we've been waiting for quite some time now, Below. Looking gorgeous here, as always, I have to say. What's been going on? What have you been working on over, say, the last year or so?
We've been working on really trying to make sure that we pull everything together that we want and make sure that the exploration that we have in the game is to the kind of content that we want from it. So, for example, we've been working on some areas that we haven't been showing, that we've been staying pretty tight-lipped about, and making sure that anything that we do expose people to makes a lot of sense for the situations in which we're showing it. The game is all about secrets, all about trying to explore and deal with the mechanics of that game without us telling you anything about it. And by making sure that we only give just a few elements of it, it means that people can consistently explore some of those simple things. What we've done that people haven't seen is the other parts that exist far deeper within this world of Below. So we're still staying pretty tight-lipped about those, and soon enough people will start being able to see them and seeing what we're making. And all the other areas that we've got, we always come back to and continue to refine and polish up and make sure that everything feels sort of Cappy perfect, the kind of way that we really want to just make sure everything feels cohesive and really special.
Obviously, we're sort of dancing around the secrets here a little bit, but I understand that that part of that is sort of exploring more of what the world is about and the narrative of it. Are you taking the same sort of approach when it comes to the narrative that you are taking to the mechanics that players will sort of have to explore them for themselves and find out for themselves?
Very much so. The fact of the matter is in multiple areas in the game, you can end up in little pockets of story that'll start telling you little bits of information about what used to exist in this place and what existed before you, because this place has existed for a long time. Your goal is to continue to find those little things and start to uncover what this place is, what it's been doing, and what are the parties that have existed here before. But all of that, of course, is, again, just inferred by the player. We want to treat you like an adult. We want to make sure that anything that you're deriving from the story is your experience in it. What you're seeing, how you're interpreting it, how you're connecting different dots, may be different from somebody else. And so what we really want is to be able to allow for the community to see different things in the game and say, oh, here's what I found, here's what I saw, here's my interpretation of that, and somebody to end up with something different. And we're not going to necessarily prescribe what exactly is the correct answer, because that's not as interesting as the questions that we can kind of pose through these little interesting vignettes that you'll discover.
Maybe there isn't one correct, or do you have like one, this is the explanation of everything, or do you sort of not even talk about that between yourselves?
We do have one, but it's not 100% prescriptive. Even the one that we have still has some space for the details of what that means and what those things can be. Because although we know what it is and we know what the deeper elements are, there's other details that people may discover that we didn't think about, that we're not worried about. Because in some cases it's not always important for us to know, the exact day that certain fictional events happened. But those can be interesting things to figure out, and some of them we may know, and some of them we may not, because it wasn't important for what we were exactly trying to say.
That is very interesting, as long as you don't go with sort of a cheap explanation that everything's a dream.
No, it's not all a dream. It's not all a dream. It's real. Well, I mean, it's a game, but it's real.
Okay, that's the prescribed solution to it. It's just a game.
Yeah, no, I mean, in this world, we've got a wanderer who constantly different characters who are, over time, constantly coming back to this island to continue to delve deeper. And what one wanderer does in one life will affect what the next wanderer may end up doing. So you open up a door in one life, and the following lives will still see that door open. Because you've changed and affected this island in some way. That island will stay the same in some ways, while it will still consistently feel different for the next person that comes. Because they won't know what this place was structured like. But the island still remains in its same kind of structure. So elements stay persistent while other elements change procedurally over time.
It's a very sort of interesting take on the roguish, roguelike kind of game.
Yeah, we all really love roguelike games, but we're also really big fans of games like Zelda. And so we wanted to keep elements of that rogue element where you go in and you don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know what the systems are yet, and you don't know exactly what everything's going to do or what you're about to discover. That was always like absolutely magical. But then we also liked the fact that we wanted to keep that Zelda kind of progression, you actually discovering and delving consistently deeper. And so by making sure that we incorporate both, I feel like get the best of both worlds. Something that's not arcadey roguelike, but something that's not entirely just prescriptive Zelda story. And so we get this little very interesting mix and difficult balance of both.
I think something that I cannot avoid talking about is the visual look of it. It's a very particular look, and I think you've gone with some choices that really makes it stand out, like the size of the main characters. It just makes the game, oddly enough, that it's so small, makes the game stand out a lot.
Yeah. What we really wanted was a space and a world, and even a camera distance that seems uninterested in the character, in that this place is big and vast, and you are a tiny little speck inside of it. It doesn't care about you in the same way that this world does not care about you. It'll let you die in a second, you'll walk on a spike trap without realizing, and you're dead. You get hit by an enemy, you start bleeding out, you'll die. And we really liked this feel and this unique look of just having this little tiny object moving around in this big, imposing space. We do move the camera around a little bit more now, where as combat starts to happen, we come in just a little bit closer, just so that you get that little bit more of a sense of combat and a little bit better of an understanding of what's happening. But otherwise, we're still keeping a very, very small character in a very big, scary space.
Yeah, it really sets the mood. And another thing that sets the mood, I'd say, is just the little details, like the amount of work put into just the torch, the flame there, and the fire. It's just beautiful, and it's sort of, but it does so much for the experience. Just the fact that you put a lot of thought and effort into something like that.
Yeah, I mean that's also why the game just takes a while to make, is because we do consistently deal with these little details as much as possible and try to make sure that they all feel just right. Refining how the fog looks. In many ways, like, somebody may look back at this game from a previous demo that they might have played and not necessarily see the difference. But if you're looking closely between the different kinds of things we released and the different things we've shown, there are real, substantial differences in the kinds of things that we're trying to do to make sure that our fog, for example, feels imposing and dark and stops the light, but also, feels very tactile and feels misty and soft while still maintaining some color, so that our whole visual scene that we're showing still has a little bit of color and texture to it without just being darkness. And that is really kind of the Cappy way of handling things, is we get really particular about what we want visually, and as much as possible try to do it regardless of how difficult it is to do.
I'm not going to put any massive pressure on you, because I know this has been a long project. But can you commit to a release window?
We can commit to finally releasing for summer 2016.
Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thank you.